Hi, everybody. We have a couple of questions for this evening, and they kind of, in their own way, tie together. And remember, I remind you to do some thinking, and I'm sure this will provoke a little bit of thinking for sure. The question is from Mary Lou Monsieur from Ottawa. Would you please talk about the head centers coming together at the level of the root, at the level of the gonad center, at the level of the solar plexus? Okay, I will try to do that. Now, this is something that is, I know I've talked about it a number of times and drawn pictures on a whiteboard indicating that there are those three levels as major centers. And when I do that, I have my tongue in my cheek. Look to be separate as I draw them, and then I've also said, but they come together. They work literally interactively. Each chakra or Sephiroth has a number of levels of development that can occur within it. And what that really means is that these chakras work together. And in the initial stages of growing past the human element process, it is the beginning, the root center is a beginning center that stimulates energy quite physically, and it moves ever so slowly in a developing manner up to the top of the head. That is called the God or the Father Center or the Crown Center. And much is not known about it, but much is written about it. And that level of expression, and all these three gonad, root, and solar plexus levels are related directly to the personality structure at this level. And so in India, for example, if they say that their Kundalini has risen, or the first stage from the root center into the gonad center, into the solar plexus, into the chest, into the throat, into the back of the head, the brow center, which ends up in the front, and into the top of the head. This is quite an interesting experience. It sometimes can be very, very, very uncomfortable, and sometimes it can be quite just perceivable by an individual. And in that, prior to that full linking of all those centers, there are relationships between the throat and the root gonad center, always engaging as energy into the personality orb. It's a field of consciousness. It just is a field, period. It looks a bit, it might be considered to look a bit oblong or elliptical or circular, depending on who it is who's talking about it, in a quiescent state, a quiet state, but it's always there, ready to be interactive with others, and that expression or intensity that we use in our relationship with others or ourselves is like a movement, like a literal expressive burst or surge of energy forward, or wherever our thoughts go. This is a construct. It just happens to be there. And some folks can have energy all the way up to their neck area. In our world, it's up to their brow area. And highly charged and focused on their personalizations. It is the way it works. Even when the crown center is linked all the way up with the root center as a major thruster, so to speak, the personality is still considered the owner of spirituality. It's a dilemma. But nonetheless, I just want to bring that up because it's important to bring it up. I've brought it up many times, and I will continue to do so, very likely. The next union of a center that suddenly begins to get stronger is the gonad center. It already, in a slight manner, is linking to the top of the head. As it gets stronger, the will, because that's what we use it for, primarily, oh yes, sexuality, fine, but that willfulness of an individual is still bent and focused on the personal. The identification of an individual as valued in accordance with themselves as very important because whatever. Redirecting that up through the links already there with not the gonad center as a minor center attached to the major root center, see how complicated this sounds, but as a major interactor with that major center of the root center, brings energy right up as far as the root has gone. If it's gone to the crown, it goes there. If it goes to the throat, it goes there. If it goes to the brow, it goes there. Now, this is a huge thing. This is a big deal. Normally, people, I have to be honest about normally this, people are usually focused primarily with the root center. The gonad center comes on, yep, and it's functional in the personality, need it rather badly. The emotional center comes on, solar plexus, need it rather badly. But this is not the same as the solar plexus and the gonad center as a major thruster, because up to the crown, there is a slow movement towards moving off the personality slightly as an important pillar of existence, with its name being yours. The next level, and this is really interesting, the next level is the solar plexus, joining as a major center, thrusting all the way up. Could be up to the brow center, could be up to the throat, the chest, could be just a fine line of engagement. Sometimes it's a very fine line of engagement to the crown. It can feel like as if you're underneath tremendous level operating through, because we're not really used to it, being focused away from ourselves. So the inclination of ourselves to make it ours increases the flow relative to our sensate relationship that we have between the brain and the nervous system. Makes it feel horrendous. Can it be also horrendous? Oh yeah, sure. But normally we're not fit enough in the idea of being able to handle energy for the purpose of being almost invisible as an individual personality, but that flow operating through for its own purpose. This comes an awful lot later. So those are those three, and really it's not, they don't operate like perfectly like that. What happens is that they engage with each other. They, let's say, ruminate a bit. And because that flow of force is related to our personalizations, our personality, we call it, as an energy form is constantly interacting and shifting. This is a dilemma because in our kind of semi-view of the importance of us, we seem to think primarily that what we think might be true must be true. And this is very difficult for us. What we think might be true can only be thought of by us in relationship to where our belief systems, our engagements with what we can perceive and what we can handle, quite physically, quite emotionally, even mentally. It is very difficult for us to understand that what begins to happen on a deep emotional, physical, and energetic nature is that our emotional mind goes quiet so that it won't interfere. In other words, it is our personalities, won't interfere with what those higher states would be helping us to become. There's an old adage, not an adage really, an old expression in the Hebrew background about a highly evolved being what is called the Adam Cadman. In other words, the heart center and the throat center and the brow and the crown and the root, gonad, and solar plexus are linked together as major centers, emitting energy related directly to the highest of all states. We can't imagine what that is. Oh, but we can prognosticate. We're good at that. And we're very creative. But it's not quite the way we think. So all of this is a most engaging and very misunderstood relationship with energies that are potentially in us for purposes that don't relate to the personalization that we call our personality. They just don't relate to that. They relate to a higher state. The Hebrews call that the Father state or the God state. Parmenides talked about it in the Greek background long before Christianity came into the fold, but you'll have to read about that yourself. But we're very capable of trying to make sense of things. And this is all that we can do. But it's not the implementation of a highly developed person relating directly to his or her personality being fundamentally superior to others. That's all nonsense. And that's just how it works. As a being becomes more able, the only thing in life is they try to help others to become like them or more. And that's really the Christian background. Comes out of the Hebrew background, of course, as we'll talk about just a little bit later. But the issue here is the need that we have, all of us, to feel valued or important in our spiritual growth. It cultivates a kind of semi-positive nature that we've reached this, and now we can go on to reach higher. If you only knew what that was, you might not want to go on any farther, which, by the way, as you talk about an individual's importance, yourself or whoever, then that holds you there. And legitimately so, because the vulnerability within you is so strong. And we all have vulnerability within us. There isn't any doubt about that. However, you may not believe it, but it's still there. Let me see if I missed anything out, Mary Lou. I wish I could have you talk and tell me what you were about anything else that you might. So the coming together of these three levels as major centers stimulate the upper centers as so-called upper centers. They're just lower part of the body, upper part of the body. Really, they all work together. However, this is not necessarily what you will read too much, but you will experience that. The energy flow is actually a doorway towards spiritual levels. In other words, as these three lower or so-called lower major centers operate together, there's a movement internally to recognize what you are watching inside of you as something that is different than how you engage as a personality, separate from that full link-up. Because at that point, energy is moving towards in upper centers to make some of those, at least one of those upper centers, more functional than they are. And sometimes it's the throat center. Sometimes. The Hindus thought that was a very important thing because they realized with this Shiva symbolic reference, and it was only a symbol, it wasn't necessarily supposed to be considered another god. No, it was a being who had reached into having the lower system in a major triad, and then the upper system at the throat center was hugely manifest, which engaged through the arms and the hands, engaged with the tongue. The tongue was then used by a higher state, not used by the personality like that, not the same as what we do for our own purposes. And then the mind was silent, and the expression of that higher state could operate through the quiet of the mind, because the emotional mind, or the intellect, would not interfere. Now, that flow could take a sentence out of something you might read in your history and express it, but it would be with the ring of a higher state, not the ring of the personalization. It would not be a truth, it would be a relative truth that would be enabling, in other words, helpful to those who are on the verge of engaging with another state, because it was trying to give the vibration through the words to an individual who was there attempting to go beyond the self-interest that it had created now. That does not mean annihilation of that personality orientation or the personality construct, but it would mean that higher state could be there and be helpful through an emerging flow or spiritual flow. Roha, I think they called it in the Book of Splendor, but I'm not sure. It's been a while since I read that one. So when that happens, then the throat center starts linking up with the brow. And that brow center is an engaging form that allows a link with a level of mind that is not personalized mind. This is, as you can hear, this is little more complicated than an engagement with the first level of enabling that is vital and clearly important in the scheme of personality things, because it does fill you with a sense of self still, because it wants to show you that sense of self that you have. And this is really difficult on us, because when we are shown this, we see all kinds of things, and we're well trained to judge. And we're also well trained to ignore. And we do both. It's very difficult for us. So we go slowly. And that's how the trend is, going slowly. Let's see if I have anything else. The personality has strong attachments to, not things, to ourselves. And the attachment means it's self-protective. It reiterates and iterates self-value. And it is valuable to some degree, but in this way of engaging as that energy begins to show us, it's intermittently able to help us see some things, but it would not expose us totally to things that we can't handle very well. Although it has happened, to be honest, but also what's happened is the individual was helped and then, of course, ignored the fact that they were helped and took it on as they did everything on their own. Well, this is what we do, and we're good at it. So let's see now. Is there anything else that I could bring up? Yeah, those self-images that we have, they're also stiffened. And they are stiffened for the purpose of, so that we can pay attention, or we can notice that they're kind of stiffened, is because there's an engagement with that flow. And that flow is what I've been trying to get us all to pay attention to. Focus on the flow. That's what higher states do. They focus less on the personality engagement. If that makes any sense, think about it. Let's see. I said each chakra or Zephyroth works together, and they do move to the ground because it's in a movement towards becoming one flow, where that higher state is using all of the personality engagements plus more to be able to help others in silence. In silence. And I'll say it again, in silence. This is tough for us. Unless you're teaching, and that'll be really an interesting situation. You'll have other experiences. Okay, so that is talking about the head centers coming together with the level of the root. Head centers are often called the crown, the brow, and the solar plexus, and the number of small centers that lead up way into other centers or a Zephyroth above the head. We're still working with these here. That includes the upper part of the heart center, just in case anybody's actually listening. And this is important because the heart center, as it's moving up to the top of the head, opens a tiny little bit because it's kind of a truth center, meaning It will help you to see what's really there as opposed to what you fabricate or believe is there. That doesn't mean it's perfect in those early states. It means it's there to help. It's a very loving center. And in the old traditions, the difference between loving and truth was not there. There's a lot of different words that's changed, and we have changed the meaning, and it's what happens. Okay, now, why I said these two questions are similar is because Carol Martin from Nashville, Tennessee, talks about the talk that I gave last Thursday on John 4:16, which was Cody's question. And I tried to answer that in a way that would not bring up too many questions, but apparently it does. So, however, I answered it in the way that I felt it was important to be asked. And I asked you to think about this. See what makes sense to you. It's just to bring an idea up so that you can try to understand something different. And there's curious about this Christian idea, Carol is, and also about the Holy Spirit. She said, some say that Jesus made no mention of the Trinity, but in Matthew 28:19, also in the Gospels of John 14:10, 16:18, 20:26. And if you look them up, you'll see reference too, especially in Matthew, the difference between Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Okay. And she talks about one of, let's see, okay, I might as well read it. Some notes say, this epistle was written to leaders of the church in the Ephesus area. It's fine. But only some Christians believe that Jesus was not an incarnate man, but also a spirit, an apparition that appeared at times. John wanted the man in God and God in man connection. And that's what some people say. Anyway, so this chapter mentions the Father, the Word, and the Holy Spirit as a threesome of heaven. Interesting. Just making a comment. Her mother's Bible is a New Analytical King James Version with dictionary, etc. I have something similar. It's a New Testament in 4 versions, and it was given to me by a minister, an Anglican minister, so I consulted it, and what you can read that material. Okay, I'll repeat it. Matthew 28:19, the Gospel of John 14, and in that 14th chapter, 10, 16 to 18, 20, and 26, they reference, if you read them, they reference the Word, or Father, or Holy Spirit. Excuse me. Okay, now we get to the question. Would you please talk about Christians coming up with the Trinity and the role of the Holy Spirit? First of all, you have to allow yourself to understand that Jesus was a Jew. And in the Old Testament, and especially not the Old Testament, the Book of Splendor, and there's another book too you could reference, and I'm sorry I've forgotten the name of it. And they bring up the idea of, and you can see that in Genesis, for example, where the Father principle, I would call it, that higher state, comes into Adam and into Eve through Adam's ribs, comes in there, still in there, and engages and creates these forms out of dirt. Change the word from dirt to material, to matter. So you're starting to see there. He uses his energy, flow of roha or force, to create a form that has him. In this case, it's him. It's a principle can, in my view, and you don't have to agree with it, is male, female. It's non-gendered. But, in the world of human beings, at that time, strength was very important, physical strength. So the male was more stronger than the female. Female was for having children, this kind of thinking. So this is a different timeline. So they thought differently. So you have to interpret a little bit and try to understand that they don't really mean it. Well, maybe they did, and maybe they still do, because it's the same in Christianity. But from my perspective, it doesn't make any sense. So that principle leaves Adam and Eve. If you read it, you'll see it leaves Adam and Eve. It goes into another dimension, another state. Even in the Garden of Eden, Adam could not perceive this higher state beingness, literally couldn't, because that beingness went into another state. So you have a higher state, call it what you want, father, mother, principle, I don't care what it is you call it. That's not the point. Also, an energetic flow, creative flow to make this being. And he preserves this breath that he blew into Adam, preserves it with these ribs, takes a rib out, still energetically engaged with that higher state, creates a new form with the rib, still matter, and still related to that energetic flow in the rib. Creates a form that is glowing relative to Adam for a purpose. And that purpose was so Adam wouldn't be lonely. Well, that's what you read. If you look at it metaphorically, it might be slightly different. Because when you look at it, you see that that individual is oscillating, emanating the Father in the garden state, or the Father principle, the energetic principle that can go into a higher state, comes into that state to be helpful. Now, if there was a strategy here, a purpose that related to higher states, then you also know that the tree and the fruit and snake and all the other animals, if you read on a little bit, depending on what you read, they were also in that state. Makes you think now. Come on. And it relates to that state being involved with a union within that universal flow or God flow, a union within that God flow, the breath of that beingness, being moved into these states for a purpose that relates to this state where we have our domicile. Meaning, that entry provides not only a downward movement, often being discussed as very negative. I don't agree with that. You've heard me talk about that one. You don't have to agree with me either. And then that allows a ladder to move upward into a union state that relates to at least the Garden of Eden. And even in that state, we may not be able to identify, because Adam couldn't, that individual beingness or principle, whatever you want to call it, with an additional state higher than that one. But it gives us a tremendous level of hope for a purpose that is not inclined only to these levels, but that state inclined to be here so that we could be there and here at the same time. It's a rendering, I know that. But hopefully it will make you think. At the same time, of course, that Adam, if you were at that in fully glowing state of all these systems as they begin to be engaged beyond the personality style, because that's what originated, then we can get from that metaphorical fable or image that the concept of Adam Cadman was the fully developed Adam in a glowing state, able to converse with a high state that is higher than what we can actually consider. However, we often talk about this, and by the way, Christians are not the only ones that come up with this one, and the Jewish folk are not the only ones that come up with this system. The system exists in Buddhism, in Hinduism, in the Taoist background, and other Aboriginal concepts believe that through what they do, they can reach a very high state. But this Adam Cadman state is the state that relates directly to the Garden of Eden. And this is what I would call a fairly high state, and where the personality was relating to God, and God was using the personality for the purpose of helping others. Service orientation is not the same as service by an owner of this important, powerful stuff. It's not the same. So we get it mixed up. And we do that because we're so vulnerable and young in our relationship with thinking. You see, the young think we're already grown up. And those who are grown up know the difference. And it's okay. None of them are thought of as negative. So, Carol's question about Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So the concept was there in front of our eyes pretty well all the time, but rendered a little kind of dullish by saying that no human being can be involved with higher states, and by those who are relatively in authority around what can happen and what should happen and why. And it's really probably they're pretty close to the truth at this stage. There aren't many who can be that way. I happen to believe that I've met a few. I've been lucky. I don't know why. but met some who were truly helping, silent in their helping, and wondrous in their engagement with higher states. I happen to believe that this is something that we as human beings are meant to be a part of. But we fundamentally exaggerate our importance, and I'm talking about the importance of the personality form, as the owner and the presenter of importance and value to the name that we happen to have. And I don't agree with that. And I never have. Doesn't mean I'm right. It just means I don't agree with it. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. If you have ever experienced any kind of interaction with a higher state flow, you'll know that that is not you. And you're not special because you got it. Because it's available to everyone. No matter what they look like, how they talk, what their economic background is, I don't care what it is. All that stuff is man-made. And perhaps we need to lean on that because we can't find anything else that might be valuable enough to lean on unless we experience something like that. And when we do, we have a vulnerability to believing that we're extra special because we've had that happen. That does not happen in higher states. However, we've heard that it happens. We've read that it happens. And so therefore it might be true. I think we need to think that through. I think the Dalai Lama had it right on the nose when he said, our difficulty is that we're a proud species. And our relationship with it is to be vastly important, even as important as some higher state or a Buddhist state. Let me see if I messed up and forgot something. The word Trinity is a word that means three. If you can leave that there. Higher state, flow from higher state that enters into a son or daughter of these states, enabling them to begin to grow. Did you hear begin to grow? We always interpret that in our first relationship with it as somehow we become more important than others if they haven't experienced that. As a matter of fact, that's a turning point in our relationship with higher states. Slowly, no matter how we act, slowly we begin to know the difference. I don't know how many lifetimes that might take or how many years it might take, depending on the individual. But I do know one thing. That may be quite worthwhile trying to engage with. Certainly beyond many of the things that we normally do. But while we're doing those normal things, we can begin slowly to try to attend to whatever energy you can perceive as just the beginning. And when I say that, here's what is really sometimes difficult on us. Often, first of all, in our relationship with growing, we begin to perceive how we are inside. And sometimes, if we have a sense of loving that comes upon us, it can be profound. It can take almost everything away for an instant or two. And then the personality will get in the way and try to duplicate it. And it does come close, but it's it's not real. You can tell the difference sooner or later. That loving that it tries to duplicate is different because the personality loves itself. And it's not a negative thing. It needs it here on these planes in our material world. So it strategizes in a relationship too, what it believes, what should be, because it loves to be that. None of us are exempt from it. Trick is to see it and not necessarily agree with it from time to time. But we all also agree with it from time to time. So do your best. One of the fundamental things that I've seen over the years with all of us normal folk is that we're changing, and we have changed to some degree. And even though that change is slow, because it's as if there's an interlude, lets you hang in there with how that energy is so that you can get used to it and not necessarily have it in your mind that you're important because of it. It just is. And so are we. I wish you well. I am looking forward to this meditation, and thank you so much for those questions. They're demanding, so I really appreciate them. This is not a Bible study engagement. This is a relationship engagement. We're trying to learn best we can. Take care, everybody, and we'll start our meditations fairly soon.
frequency.
Now we'll just do the balancing and grounding, and have a good evening.